Yeah, so every single ordinance that is void for vagueness, right, contradicts in any way, shape, or form a state let me start over. A county, state, or federal law, amendment, statute, right? Any ordinance that, you know, supersedes, contradicts, is in opposition to in any way, shape, or form, those are being repealed, right? Just like Ordinance 1278 and 1278.07, those were repealed, right? And they were still weaponized against me and my family. And, we have to call a spade, right? I know I always say that, but corruption is corruption. And, the uniparty in Wayne has to come to an end, right? The status quo, which consists of, the city council, city manager's office, downtown community development office, Lori Goen, right? Well, what community, right? Judge Brita O'Leary, right? Finding probable cause, right? Judge O'Leary finding probable cause when there's not even a codified ordinance to enforce, right? Well, how can there be probable cause? Well, that's a question for Brita O'Leary, but that's a question for all of you. See, the thing with my agenda, it's very simple. The agenda is to do a forensic audit, right? A forensic audit of every dollar that's ever been spent in the city of Wayne, and we'll say the last 10 years, right? We're going to go back. Really, the problems start before that, but we're just going to focus on the last 10 or so years, maybe 15, right? That would give us probably a more accurate picture, right? But I would say, really from 2008, so about 20 years, we need to go back and we need to have a forensic audit for one. And I can show you guys where your money's going. I know you're not going to like it. I do know that. That much I can promise you, you're not going to like it. And it's going to be upsetting to a lot of people, right? I mean, if people are upset, because they have to pay $120 to $200 a year for trash pickup, well, I'm paying $500 a year, guys. And so I feel you 2.5 times as much. And I share your sentiment. I share your worries and concerns. And yeah, because what we have right now is not government, right? What we have now is controlled corruption, deliberate, methodical corruption, and really just fundamentally a waste of your tax dollars, right? You go to work every day, or you worked every day. You did the right things, or you are currently still doing the right things, and you fund this system, right? And you really don't get much say, if any say, in how it actually operates. And more importantly, though, more critically, rather, is you're funding it, right? And people should know where their money's going, and people should have a say where their money's going. And we currently don't in Wayne, Michigan, and really in the state of Michigan and the United States in general. But in the city of Wayne, the city charter has, probably, no exaggeration, hundreds of ordinances that are void for vagueness or violate the supremacy clause, right? Because it's time that we get the Constitution, which is the law of the land, right? It's time that we get the Constitution back at the forefront of our government. And that means that anything that contradicts it has to go. It can't be amended. It can't be reviewed, evaluated. It's got to be repealed and replaced, or preferably just repealed, right? Because I don't think, repealing a bunch of laws and passing a bunch of new ones. But yeah, we do need to get some ordinances passed that make sense, right? That protect American citizens, first and foremost, Wayne residents, right? Because we're talking in the context of the city of Wayne, Michigan. So, there are ordinances that are needed to protect citizens, their property, and the like. But I'm not looking to, pass a bunch of laws. I'm looking to restore freedom and restore dignity to this once great village of Wayne, Michigan, right? We used to have a great little village here, and sometime after 1965, sometime between 1965 and now, we've had a continual decline, in large part because of these very oppressive ordinances and these bloated and overextended committees and offices, right? There's just simple fact of the matter is the money is being wasted. Your money's being wasted, right? And it's time that we have an honest discussion about this facade that we're um, being forced to fund, right? Because that's what it is. It's a facade government, with a bunch of facade laws and a bunch of facade departments, and everyone hangs out in the same room, but nobody knows nothing, right? That's the big thing in Wayne, Michigan, right? They pose for pictures together, and they hang out in the same room, but nobody knows nothing, right? Well, that changes, right? So that's where, you know, my wife and I, and another individual that we're going to keep unnamed right now, just because, well, it's the right thing to do. But yeah, we have 3 council positions opening, and I suspect more to follow. And it's been a long time in the making here, right? Never planned for this, never envisioned on doing this. But, God puts obstacles in your way, and He puts obstacles in your life. And, you know, sometimes you got to take what's in front of you, right? And, unfortunately, out of necessity, right, I got to get some of the money back that these crooks, these criminals have, caused me to have to spend, right? So, I know I did say I'll never take a salary, and once I recoup the money that has been stolen from me by the city of Wayne, of course, then the anything in excess, right, to what I get back for expenses will be donated in its entirety. But the city of Wayne, no exaggeration, I mean, probably cost me and my wife from May 9th to February, probably $40,000. $40,000 or so. Might have been more. Might be closer to 50. So, I mean, that's a few years in office, right? So we'll say 5 to 10 years, then I won't take any money. But I don't know. I mean, is it taking money if you use the money to fund initiatives, positive initiatives for residents, right? People that don't have the resources, right, or the know-how or the stamina to fight back, right? Because this is not easy stuff to do, right? It's not easy to sit in jail because you said no, right? Because you said no. You said no, go get a search warrant, and you protested, in your own yard, right? Protesting in your own yard results in interference, right? So, spending, months in jail, months banished from your home, it opens up your eyes, guys. It really opens up your eyes to just how dangerously corrupt and incompetent the institutions that we have are, right? And I'm just gonna take the fight at a local level, right? Some people want to take it to the state and to the federal government, and we need that. But we also need people that are willing to kind of plant their feet somewhere locally and really try to, what we're really trying to do is start a grassroots movement, a movement, bipartisan, right? Whether you're Democrat, Republican, I really don't give a fuck. You're an American first and foremost, and the Constitution is the law of the land, and we need to get back to that in government. And so, It doesn't cost us anything. It's not something that requires, you know, dozens of people on a committee for years at a time with, you know, big fancy budgets and reports. And no, this is just something that I'll do in my basement. I'll do in my, um, you know, my den, my office, right? This is something that I'll do, you know, in my free time, right? Um, and I'll use the money that I get from the position to reinvest it back into the community. And once I've gotten compensated from the city for what the city has, you know, taken from me, right? And then of course, you know, I'm working for free here regardless, because, you know, that little $5,000 is not, you know, let's just say that I've already, you know, this fight has already cost me $40,000 or $50,000, and so I'll be lucky if I can make that back in 10 years. And of course, with inflation, that money won't be worth anything in 10 years. So really, I'd have to work probably about 20 years, really, with the way inflation's going, just to break even, right? From what I've had to, you know, endure, right? Now, obviously, we have, you know, lawsuits and all that, and so, you know, that could result in a some sort of compensation, right? So that could make it to where I wouldn't need to take a salary, right? But I still think taking the money and using it for good, because if you just donate it back to the city, then, you know, the city's just going to waste it, and, you know, it's not going to, like, actually, it's not going to end up in, you know, any sort of good hands, right? It's just going to end up squandered and wasted and, you know, excreted, right? Defecated, right, by the city, right? Because the city will eat your money, right? The city, like the illustration, you know, how they used to make those cartoons, right, in the newspapers, those, you know, kind of satire, those memes, right, before we had the internet. And I just picture the city of Wayne just has a big old plate, like a buffet, right? A bunch of plates of your money, of your tax dollars, right? Tens of thousands of dollars per household, right? Thousands of dollars per household, millions of dollars per, you know, neighborhood, right? Hundreds of thousands. I mean, obscene amounts of money, right? And they're just eating it all up as fast as they can get it, and they're just shitting it out all over you. And so you're not getting like the enjoyment of, you know, spending the money, of, you know, counting the money. You know, they're not managing your money, guys. They're wasting your money. They're spending it. To try to protect themselves and to try to cover for their criminal activity, right? Because that's what these people are, criminals. You know, you don't just accidentally enforce a law that doesn't exist and prosecute someone for interfering with the enforcement of a law that doesn't exist, right? Like, you guys understand that that's not like accidental. That's not negligence, right? That's not like, oh, whoopsie, you know. No, that's a very serious. And then all these discovery violations that, of course, we're gonna, you know, we're going to bring up again and talk about again, right, for like the gazillionth time in the 35th District Court. But luckily it's on a record, right? So we can't wait to bring that up and say, well, you know, this motion is in front of me. The court granted this motion, and by the own city's admission, the city's own admission, they haven't, you know, given me any CAD or radio or, you know, I just want to know the full story, right, from May 9th. I want to know who called, what they said, who answered the call, who they spoke to. I want to get the whole chain of events here, right? That's what you're entitled to in criminal discovery, right? The city doesn't get to pick and choose what they want to give you, right? No, you request what you request, the judge grants it, and then the city has to give it to you. They don't get to say, well, we gave them that, we gave them this, you know, even though they didn't. Right. We gave them all video discovery. No, you didn't. July 5th, there was 3 police officers. There's 1 body-worn camera. I think there was 4, actually, but definitely 3. Right. And, you know, the 2 supervisors, right? The captain and the lieutenant, right? Or the sergeant and the lieutenant, rather. Their body camera footage is just mysteriously missing, of course, right? So, and that was, of course, after, you know, sentencing. So, right, you know, you're admitting that you've only given discovery after sentencing, right? So 9 months later. So I don't know. It's not the argument that the city thinks it is, I guess, right? So I don't really understand. Again, their motions are getting more and more insane, right? Where They're like literally admitting like, oh yeah, well he didn't violate any burn ordinance. Like we didn't charge him with that. We charged him with interference, right? So now they're admitting they had absolutely no reason to be on my property, right? They're literally admitting in court, live on the record, that, oh yeah, we didn't even charge him with interference, or we didn't even charge him with violating the burn ordinance. Okay, well then why were you on the property? Were you invited? Well, no. Okay, so you just showed up. Why? Well, because we're the city of Wayne. We do what we want. Well, no, that's not how the Fourth Amendment works, guys. The Fourth Amendment tells you very politely to get fucked, right? If you want to search and seize someone's property and you don't have an emergency, an accident, a true life or death situation, because they like to say an actual emergency. Well, I'm gonna use a page out of, well, until they have an actual emergency, right? Which is, you know, what they put in my bond condition, right? I can't call the police unless it's an actual emergency, right? Well, you can't come violate my property rights and trespass and search and seize my property without an actual emergency, guys. So isn't that awfully funny, right? The people that are violating you and your rights are projecting what they're doing to you onto you, right? They're telling you you can't do what they're doing to you, right? I mean, this is sick. This is disgusting people we're dealing with, right? This is the city council I'm talking about. Carrie Miller, the city contracted attorney, who I guess is a city employee. She argued to the court that she's really a city employee, so for purposes of the bond violations, right? Because, you know, she felt unsafe because I was talking about, you know, her conduct and her malicious prosecution, right? Because, you know, she thought she was going to get away with it forever, and that people don't have a right to voice their opinions about malicious prosecutors, right? People that have been proven, right? I mean, at this point, it's all out there. All the evidence is out there, right? The trial at this point is nothing more than a formality, right? Because the evidence has already been displayed, and you know, like I said again, it's awfully weird how the city of Wayne has not sued me for my so-called, you know, what they try to falsely characterize as harassing behavior or whatever, right? Intimidating, threatening, right? You know, whatever fucking pejorative bullshit they want to use. But you notice they haven't sued me yet for defamation. I wonder why. Oh, because that would require discovery, and they don't want discovery to get out, you know. So that's why we have 200. That's why we have 2 more FOIA lawsuits that we're filing, because the city last night rejected those appeals, right? So, you know, it's $1,000 every time they do it. It's called capricious and arbitrary denial, and there's no factual denial for any of it. The information has to exist by law. It does exist, and you know, and I'm willing to search it myself. You know, you give me the keys, I'll search your systems all I want until my heart's content, right? I'll find some things. I probably won't find everything because you guys have already deleted it, which is why we requested adverse inference, which we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna request all that, because if the city can't produce discovery, well then you can't prosecute, right? You can't prosecute somebody and continue to prosecute somebody when you've, you know, actually admitted, the city of Wayne has admitted that they've given discovery, only video discovery, after sentencing, right? They actually put that on a piece of paper and put that in an exhibit and said, oh yeah, look, this is what I'm saying is frivolous. No, you're actually proving my case, guys. That's what's so fucking bizarre here, is you're arguing one thing, but the evidence that you're arguing with actually benefits me, actually confirms what I'm telling the court, which is what I've been telling the court, which I filed with the court August 24th. I filed a motion to compel discovery, Brady Giglio sanctions, and I asked for recusal of the prosecutor because I, you know, brought it up that the prosecutor is engaging in vindictive and malicious prosecution, that there's not actually possibility even of probable cause, right? We're not saying that well, of course there's no probable cause, but we're saying that because you're not actually enforcing a codified law and you're on private property without consent, without a warrant, and without exigent circumstances, that's as unconstitutional as you can get, right? And there's no exception to that. You don't just get to say, well, you know, we're here for a simple administrative cert. No. Case law is case law is case law. Case law is abundantly clear that the personal property, you know, your private property, your home, has special protections under the Fourth Amendment, and so does your curtilage. Your curtilage is nothing but a mere extension of your home, of your inner walls, right? So your garage, everything your inner walls, anything surrounding your house, your backyard especially. I mean, you know, it's curtilage, right? It's protected by the Fourth Amendment, uniquely protected by the Fourth Amendment, in fact. And you know, that's a problem for the city of Wayne, obviously, because uniquely protected. Well, it's not very ambiguous language, right? Because the city of Wayne likes to pass ambiguous laws and use ambiguous language, and you know, that's actually an attack on the Constitution of this country, because the Constitution of this country outlaws void for vagueness laws, right? So it's called the vagueness doctrine. And it's actually a great thing that we have it, because otherwise, you know, what happened to me would happen to millions of other people, right? You could just get accused of, you know, violating a crime or violating a law or an ordinance or something that doesn't even exist on paper. It's not even a real thing. You can't access it. It's not codified into law. There's no objective standards, right? There's no abatement process. There's no due process. There's none of that. It's just like, hey, the city passes that just, let me make sure I'm correctly stating this. The fire marshal of Wayne, Jeremy Schneider, looks like one draft. He drafted this open burn policy, put the rough draft as the final draft, called it good, and then the city ratified it by slapping it on the city website. So the city knew about it, right? The city knew about it and been up on the city website. We don't know how long. We don't know when the open burn policy was actually drafted, because, you know, obviously the city of Wayne wants to keep obstructing those FOIAs, right, that were got lawsuits to obtain. So yeah, I mean, we're in it to win it. So, you know, definitely not gonna let a William J. Mays or Jermaine Warwick go in court and argue, well, they were following the ordinance. And my argument is, well, what ordinance? So I showed you there wasn't an ordinance, Mr. Jermaine Warwick, and you decided to go into court arguing that I'm following an ordinance that don't exist. And it's like, yeah, I know whose side you were on, you fucking worthless jogging piece of shit. I know exactly whose side you were on. Yeah, don't worry, Attorney Grievance Commission is gonna love that. So hey, your client pointed out the fact that there wasn't even a codified ordinance, right? And you decided that you were going to argue to the court that he was following the ordinance, right? Instead of saying, well, you can't follow something that doesn't exist, right? You can't follow a ghost, right? A phantom, right? That's why it's called the Phantom Ordinance. So, it's incredible. And then once, of course, you see, you know, the fact that I pointed out 1278 and 1278.07 were repealed before the enforcement of this policy. So then you're like, okay, so the policy is not an ordinance, and then it cites phantom ordinances that have been repealed. And you're like, huh, okay. Interesting shit there, guys. That is some fucking bizarre. You want to talk about Uncle Fester? You want to talk about Uncle Fester, baby? Oh fuck. The jokes write themselves with the city of Wayne, and so you know, I just think the city of Wayne deserves more. You know, I think I built, you know, a relatively decent life for myself here. Got a nice property, beautiful family, successful, and I know I can bring some of those same ideas to the city of Wayne, minus the suck my 8-inch dick to the balls comments. We're going to refrain from that as much as humanly possible, but we'll still, you know, we'll still have it, you know, as a code word, right? As a code phrase, right? If you remember the good old days, the suck my 8-inch dick to the balls days, right? Yeah, well, you guys, you know, we don't want to forget, right? We don't want to lose our what makes us me, right? I don't want to lose what makes me. But now I agree, you know, it's time to get more professional, which again, I don't think the city of Wayne wants that. I don't think they want me being professional and being calm and collected, because that's actually worse for them. That's much worse for them. And so, but I'll give them what they want. I'll give you guys what you want. I mean, that's fine. Because like I said, guys, I'll do this shit for free, right? Just let me get about 20,000 back, right? Let me get about 4 years, right? I need about 20,000. That should pay for, you know, maybe, outside of emotional suffering and all that, but hopefully we get a good result, you know, in federal court and circuit court, and hopefully we won't really need, you know, to take that much, you know, because I want to work for free for you, because I really will do this for free. I really enjoy exposing these people for what they are, and it's got to start it in your own zip code, right? I mean, that's just what it is. So I don't tolerate corruption. I don't tolerate unconstitutional shit, and neither should you. And you can't. I mean, you just simply can't allow for it. The people of this country deserve better, and with me, they'll get better. And with my wife, who is also running. But the long game for us, though, of course, is the mayor position of the council. But simply we need to get inside the gates and start really looking into everything, and bringing some transparency back. Because I want to give you transparency in real time, live, right? So that way you guys get it unedited, unredacted, right? Just raw and uncut, right? You guys can formulate your own decisions, right? Just like Don Quarles, I agreed with him. What he said last night, he said, "Oh, you got to do your own research," right, Don Quarles? Well, I agree with that. I think people need to have access to the information to do their own research, right, Don? Right? So you can't be, denying FOIAs, right, for public transparency, for public record, right, for public transparency and accountability sake, but then turn around and lecture the people about, yeah, you need to do your own research. Well, you got to have the information to do your own research, buddy. So it's just some food for thought, because I know you eat a lot of it, Don, and obviously you didn't get that way overnight. So been a long time in the making. Just like I didn't start recognizing patterns overnight, guys. It's been a long time in the making. I've been in Wayne a couple years and got a lot of training in this stuff. So I've I love, like, the thing I love most in life is calling out tyrants and sticking tyrants' nose and shit. I really love that, right? Like there was I'll tell you a little story before I let you go here. There was we'll call her, she was a non-commissioned officer. She was a burner, right? A coal burner, and really loved jogger, loved radiator hose, right? Sergeant Dunn, what was her name? Redheaded Sergeant Dunn, loved radiator hose, burner, had a couple sprogs, right? Had spawned a couple sprogs, and didn't like white man too much, right? She always thought, like, she could say whatever she wanted to the white man, right? This is Sergeant Dunn. Actually, matter of fact, I'll oust her. Fuck her. Sergeant First Class Jennifer Dunn, Dunn, Jennifer, Jennifer, Sergeant First Class. She tried to make E8, but her commanding officer wouldn't give it to her because she's a worthless piece of shit. But yeah, this burner, right, who thought she could talk shit and disrespect men, white men especially, while I was on active duty. Well, she found out she couldn't. So Sergeant First Class Dunn, very arrogant person, but also a person that doesn't do a thorough inventory, a thorough search, right? And so I'm gonna be very vague here, but essentially, I was out, getting some pussy or something, and I didn't show up for work or something that day, or I don't know what happened. Some miscommunication. It's the Army. It's a fucking joke. It's you think the city of Wayne's a clusterfuck? Oh fuck, spend a couple weeks in your average RV unit, and you'll see. It's fucking wild shit, guys. It's wild shit. I mean, that's why I'm like so comfortable at the city of Wayne, right? Because I'm so used to this level of corruption. I mean, it's like being at home, right? So, and so Sergeant Dunn, so she was given the task, right, the responsibility of going into. I just got stationed. I think it was at Fort Gordon, Georgia, in Augusta, and I was staying in these temporary barracks, and they decided they had to go look for me, right? Couldn't get a hold of me or something. I don't know what it was. And so they had to do a welfare check. So they basically broke into my barracks room, and had a bag in there. I had one of the big old green army issued duffel bags, and had some stuff in that bag, man. That oh, I'm so glad that con didn't find it, man. Man, it would have been not a good day for me. But I don't know. I think she was so dumb. I don't think they would have known what to do with it anyways. And she didn't even know how to search a duffel bag, right? So she had to do a welfare check, right? And then they give you like 2 or 3 hours to do it, right? You have all day. Then you go take a lunch for a couple. It's a joke, right? And she, oh man, she did the most half-assed inspection ever, and didn't find anything. Didn't find what she could have found, which would have not helped me in any way. And I remember, man. I remember when I was getting out. I remember just talking bad shit to her, man. Just she caught me at the gym one day, and just acting like, oh, you're supposed to have brain damage and an ear injury. Why are you at the gym? Trying to insinuate some bullshit. And so I just let her have it at that point, guys. I just told her, I was like, man, you didn't look very hard in that bag, man. But thank God you didn't. Because she looked. She opened the bag when I came in the room. The bag was opened. Shit was everywhere. But she's just too lazy to reach her hand in there and look, right? Typical burner. Typical coal burner, right? Take the easy way out and then get mad at society when nobody wants to be around you or your half breed or whatever the fuck you call it, whatever that's supposed to be. I don't know. But, hey, would you expect a burner to not be lazy? I mean, yeah, right. So thank God for burners, right? So thank you, Sergeant Jennifer Dunn, Sergeant First Class. You got denied your E8 slot by, what was it, Lieutenant Colonel Hockey, wasn't it? Yeah, Lieutenant Colonel Hockey. That was her boss, and she denied it. So kudos to you, Lieutenant Colonel Hockey. I'm sure she's somewhere down in Florida driving that old busted up Ford F-150. But yeah, I don't know, guys. We got shit to do. I got some firewood to split. Got a couple orders. Helping some people out. Because why not? Fuck the city of Wayne, of course, because firewood, clean firewood, is sold here at Disabled Vet Source, but we give a lot of it away too. We, like I said, we really want, every time the city of Wayne drives by, they see all the firewood, and of course they can't buy any, right? Because this firewood's too good for them, right? Anyone who works for the city of Wayne who supports the current regime. If you don't support the current regime, or you want to talk, or you have questions, concerns, comments, please reach out, jerichoflowers81@gmail.com. Or AFCC Holdings with an S at gmail.com. AFCCHOLDINGS@gmail. So either one of those, if you want to reach out, if you have questions, if you're not a bootlicker. And if you are and you still want to reach out, I'll have a conversation with you. I'll have a conversation with you and try to basically understand your bootlicking ways, right? Why you like being molested and why you bootlick on top of being molested and smile while you're being molested. Like I'd love to know, of course, because I do have a master's degree in organizational psychology, so I am intrigued by some of the theory and some of the thought process behind what I see every day in my zip code. So would love to know, but we have some work to do. I guess fuck it, guys. I got a little time, right? Let's show you guys what we're working on here. Let's give you a rundown. Let's see here. Do we want White Widow, or wedding cake? Do we want White Widow or wedding cake? That is the question. Do we want the wedding cake or the White Widow from Jungle Juice, right? Savage by nature. So we have to decide which one we want for this beautiful day of work. We thank our Lord Jesus Christ for this opportunity to his greatest creation, in my opinion, is trees. And so we like to honor him. And obviously burning firewood is great for the earth, obviously, and so of course we want to provide this clean firewood to those who need it, so they can use it to stay warm and to feed their families and heat their homes and enjoy their bonfire pits and whatever else they do with it. It's really none of my concern. If they want to, put splinters up their pooper, they can do that. We live in America, guys. It's an amazing, amazing thing. But we live in America. We can drink low-carb monsters. We can unleash the beast, because that's what we're going to do here. We're going to put this big old fatty, this 1.2 grammer, in between our ear like this. Look like a real piece of shit right now, but that's okay. Because I would rather give you guys the raw, right? I'm going to use those real badass sounding words, right? The raw, unedited footage of your, I have a good suspicion I'm going to be your next councilman. Definitely don't mind that. Anything I can do to help you guys out, bring some transparency and accountability back to our once formerly great village of Wayne, Michigan. Yeah, buddy. What's up, Bubba? Got some friendly people here. Playing basketball. Oh my God. Good pass. You want to shoot it? Let's go. Say hello, Mauricio. You want me to shoot it? There you go. Uh-oh, I missed. I'm sorry. I missed it. You gonna beat me up because I missed? Hi, Bubba. What's up, Bubba? You say hello. Say hello. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.